right. We're going to move forward with file item 43, Senator Jackson. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 646 by Senator Jackson, an act relating to family support.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. I'm pleased to present SB 646, which is back on concurrence with Senate Assembly amendments. This bill is a conformity measure that will bring state statute into compliance with the federal 2008 Uniform Interstate Family Support Act, which governs child and family support orders, programs, and funding. It is also an important component to the United States ratification of the multilateral treaty adopted at the Hague Convention on the International Recovery of Child Support and other forms of family maintenance. This bill will also help ensure that California will continue to draw down $640 million in federal funding for the implementation of international and federal child and family support laws and orders. Lastly, this bill has received unanimous bipartisan support throughout the legislative process and has no opposition. With that, I would respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. Members, any debate or discussion? Members, we are going to, as we move forward, be closing the roll. Secretary, please call.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. I. Bell. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. I. Fuller. Gaines. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. Hill. I. Wesso. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lada. I. Leno. I. Leva. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. Monning. Mitchell, I. Monning. I. Morlock. I. Morrell. I. Wynn. I. Nilsson. I. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk. Wolk, aye. Bell, aye.
Secretary, call the absent members.
Fuller. Gaines.
Aye.
Aye. Hertzberg. Wesso. Aye.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred with. Members, we're now going to move to file item 78. Senator Jackson. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 775 by Assembly Member Chu, an act relating to public health.
Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. California has a compelling state interest to make sure all pregnant women have timely access to health care when it comes to pregnancy-related services, whether prenatal care or abortion. So-called crisis pregnancy centers often delay that care, which can lead to complications, serious health outcomes, or low-weight birth babies. AB 775 helps address this delay by making sure that women are aware of public programs that California offers so they can receive timely and medically accurate care. In California, we have an important legacy of protecting a woman's constitutional right to choose. California has a full spectrum of public programs to make sure all pregnant women have timely access to health care, whether for family planning purposes, prenatal care, or abortion services. Since this bill has been mischaracterized, let's be clear what this bill does not do. It does not require referrals to abortion clinics. It does not provide a preference to one kind of clinic over another. It does not provide any centers from providing current ongoing services. It does not shut down centers, and it does not discriminate on the basis of religion. What this bill does is that it requires licensed facilities to provide a simple notice that free or low-cost programs, public programs, are available for comprehensive family planning services, for prenatal care, or abortion services. This measure requires unlicensed facilities to simply provide a simple notice that its facilities are not licensed and there is no licensed medical provider on staff. Requiring notice of public programs is indeed not unprecedented in California. For example, certain businesses, such as truck stops and liquor stores, are required to post resources for victims of human trafficking. Hospitals are required to post information on the patient's Bill of Rights and its charity care policy. This bill has been carefully crafted based on other laws upheld by the courts. The authors have worked with our Attorney General's office on the language to ensure that it is consistent with constitutional law and that AB 775 will withstand judicial scrutiny. With that, colleagues, I respectfully request your aye vote.
Senator Stone?
Thank you, Mr. President. I've authored amendments which I believe further enhance this bill, AB 7.
There are amendments at the desk.
Yes.
Secretary, please read.
Amendments by Senator Stone, set 1.
Senator Stone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, AB 775 discriminates against those pregnancy centers that hold a pro-life viewpoint by forcing them to advertise for services they don't personally advocate for. This is a very troubling policy. My amendments strike the noticing language in AB 775 and substitutes it with language alerting pregnant women at these clinics of the availability of public assistance for pregnancy and child rearing. This amendment encourages women to get the help that they need. I simply ask that these amendments be adopted.
Thank you, Senator Stone. Senator Monning?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay these amendments on the table.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen? Aye. Anderson? No. Bates? No. Bell? Aye. Berryhill? No. Block? Aye. Cannella? De Leon? Aye. Fuller? Gaines?
No.
No. Gaggioni? Aye. Glazer? Aye. Hall? Aye. Hancock? Hernandez? Aye. Hertzberg? Aye. Hill? Aye. Wesso? Aye. Huff? Jackson? Aye. Latta? Aye. Leno? Aye. Leva? Aye. Liu? Aye. McGuire? Aye. Mendoza? Aye. Mitchell? Aye. Monning? Aye. Morlock? No. Morrell? No. Wynn? No. Nielsen? No. Pan? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Roth? Aye. Runner? No. Stone? No. Vidak? No. Wachowski? Aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye. Fuller, no.
Ayes 25, noes 12. Motion carries. Senator Stone.
Thank you again, Mr. President, and I certainly respect the vote to strike down my initial set of amendments.
There are amendments at the desk. Secretary, please read.
I have a second set that I'd like to advance at this time.
Amendments by Senator Stone, set 2.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Members, in order to present women with all the information they need, I have amendments that add to the noticing language to include language alerting pregnant women at these clinics of the availability of public assistance for pregnancy and child rearing. Women should have all the information presented to them so that they can make the best informed decision when it comes to their pregnancy. This is a common sense amendment that puts the policy on a level playing field instead of tilting it in one direction over another. If you go to these clinics that try to offer adoption services they have to now have a notice that says that there are clinics that can provide you abortion. Well, why not in abortion clinics put a notice in there that says there is a service out there that can provide you with services in case you would consider putting your child up for adoption. This would level the playing field. For those reasons, so please, I hope that you'll consider these amendments.
Thank you, Senator Stone. Senator Monning?
Yes, Mr. President, I would move to lay these amendments on the table.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen? Anderson? Allen, aye. Anderson, no. Bates? No. Bell? Aye. Berryhill? No. Block? Aye. Canella? De Leon? Aye. Fuller? No. Gaines?
No.
No. Gaggiani? Glazer? Aye. Hall? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Hernandez? Aye. Hertzberg? Aye. Hill? Aye. Wessel? Aye. Huff? No. Jackson? Aye. Lara? Aye. Leno? Aye. Leva? Aye. Liu? Aye. McGuire? Aye. Mendoza? Aye. Mitchell? Aye. Monning? Aye. Morlock? No. Morrell? No. Wynn? No. Nielsen? No. Pan? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Roth? Aye. Runner? No. Stone? No. Vidak? No. Wachowski? Aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye.
Ayes 25, noes 13. Motion carries. Great. Senator Anderson, Secretary, please read the amendments at the desk.
Amendments by Senator Anderson, set 3.
Senator Anderson.
Senators, this bill is purported to help women and not to delay their health in moving forward with it. I agree that we should put women first, that at the end of the day, no woman's life should be put at risk. And for those reasons, I believe, after learning what the Center for Medical Progress has learned, that there are abortion providers whose goal is not to make abortion easier or less traumatic for the women, but it's to get undamaged brains, hearts, livers, in fact, the entire baby. In fact, they even stated that they had to close the baby's eyes when shipping the body because they didn't want to shock the person when they opened the box. These profiteers who would make money in this industry are wrong. And if we're going to send women to these abortion clinics, then we should empower those women to report illegal behavior. So what we did is we took all the provisions and languages of this bill and simply said, let's apply it to abortion clinics so that when a woman comes in, she's empowered. She knows that it's against the law to sell hearts, lungs, and livers, and that she can report it. You see, there's no reason, if we put a bright light on this and people knew where to report it, those abortion clinics would not ever consider illegally selling baby parts. So I want to protect women just like this bill does, and this amendment allows us to protect those women, not just from not receiving abortion, but having their babies' parts stolen and sold. And I think that's wrong. I think you all can agree that we should never be selling baby parts. That when you have a full-term baby and you're shipping it and you have to close the baby eyes as not to shock somebody so they faint when they open the box, you've gone too far. You know, let me read for you real fast that state and federal law requires the same treatment be given to an infant born alive after an abortion as to a normal delivered baby. California Health Safety Code says California law also prohibits any kind of experimentation on a fetus with a discernible heartbeat. See, we don't have those protections in there. Women have died who have gone to abortion clinics as their baby has been taken. And so I want to make sure that we give equal protection to women no matter where they go. If they're going to a clinic that's going to help them with their health but not provide an abortion, they should be protected. And when they go to an abortion clinic, they should also be protected. No woman should die because she had an abortion. Unfortunately, too often, these bills treat women like chattel. It's truly the war on women. Because if you cared about women, you would not subject them to this. So this is a common sense approach to simply inform women where they can call to stop these abusive behaviors. So when they witness and they learn that somebody's talking about selling their baby's parts, hearts, lungs, and livers, they'll have a way to call the local authority and ensure that that is stopped and that these people see justice. I think we all can agree, I hope that we all can agree, if maybe not on the floor, but in our hearts, that no baby should be sold for parts. And so what this simply does is it takes the technical notice provisions of this bill and simply applies them to licensed facilities that perform abortions. And it includes language to say that where you can call to report illegal activity. If we're going to protect women, let's do it no matter where they go. Women who are in abortion clinics are equally important as women who are in medical clinics. Let's not devalue women's lives. I believe that all women matter and all women's lives matter. So with that, I would ask that you support this. Now there's going to be some who'd like to table this, and that way they can avoid a key vote. But I want to assure you, if it gets tabled today, I will be bringing this bill back by itself in January, so you have another opportunity to be on this bill and supportive, and I'd encourage and welcome any co-authors. But the bottom line is, if we table this today, we're encouraging the war on women. I don't want to be a part of that war. I love women. I treat them as an equal. I don't think they're chattel. And I don't ever want to be seen devaluing the women in our society. So I'd urge your support. I'd urge you not to hide behind a parliamentary procedure that would prohibit us from voting on this initiative. So with that, I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Anderson. Senator Monning.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to table this proposed amendment. Lay it on the table.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen? Aye. Anderson? No. Bates? No. Bell? Berryhill? No. Block? Aye. Canella? De Leon? Aye. Fuller? No. Gaines? No. Galgiani? Aye. Glazer? Hall? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Hernandez? Aye. Hertzberg? Aye. Hill? Aye. Wesso? Huff? No. Jackson? Aye. Lada? Aye. Leno? Aye. Leva? Aye. Liu? Aye. McGuire? Aye. Mendoza? Aye. Mitchell? Aye. Monning? Aye. Morlock? No. Morrell? No. Wynn? No. Nielsen? No. Pan? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Roth? Aye. Runner? No. Stone? No. Vidak? No. Wachowski? Aye. Wolk? Wolk aye. Wesso aye. Bell aye.
Ayes 25, noes 13, motion carries. Is there any further debate or discussion on this item? Senator Runner.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I just really believe this bill is unnecessary. I have worked, I have volunteered, I have started some crisis pregnancy centers in my community, and we do give them every option to seek help through the public access, but also for a lot of nonprofits out there that want to help these women, whether choosing adoption. I have an adopted child. My kids adopted a child, a foster child. We believe adoption is a better option. And there is no reason for this to be in law that you can refer, you have to refer that you can send them to another opportunity to get them help. They already do this. The crisis pregnancy centers that I've been involved in already give them the opportunity to go somewhere else to get help them get resources, to help them get vitamins, to get food for their babies, if they just choose to keep those babies. So in my situation, I don't feel this bill is even necessary. And, you know, along with the parliamentary procedures that happen here on the floor, it's difficult when we're talking about doing some amendments and you just lay them on the table and we really don't get a chance to discuss it. But again, I believe we should vote no on this. It's not a necessary bill. It's done already in crisis pregnancy centers all across the state. We want to do what's best for that woman and that child, and that's the most important thing we need to do and talk about today. So I urge a no vote.
Thank you, Senator Runner. Senator Morrell?
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, on this bill, pregnancy medical clinics provide women with critical free of charge services from prenatal care to parental education. And many of these professionals on the staff, they value life, they love babies, and they cherish bringing new life into the world created in the image of God. They offer hope in difficult circumstances, caring for a mother and her child. Yet this bill forces their staff to engage in an activity that violates their conscience and also authorizes the Attorney General to impose unfair fines. It creates a potential barrier to them continuing their work in our communities. We talk here on this floor all the time about expanding access to women's health care, but yet we put many roadblocks in their way. This is a moral issue. Yet here today, we have many good clinics providing access, and this body is willing to limit this access. That's wrong, and I urge a no vote, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Morrell. Senator Morlock?
That's a tough issue. There's a video on YouTube. It's a TED Talk by Alexander Tsarias, T-S-I-A-R-I-S. And they did mathematical studies, algorithms on the growth of a fetus and the mathematical composition of how quickly the fetus grows and the importance of collagen. And so if you ever have a chance to see the formation, this video, it's fantastic. It's moving. As a father of 3, as a grandfather of 2, it's just great to watch. But recently we've had some new videos pop up, and those videos have had national reverberations, have even impacted the presidential race already. And I can remember not too long ago that one of my colleagues, a senator from Sonoma, used the word crunchy. He was feeling crunchy. And now that word is being used when it comes to baby parts. And now we're finding out that maybe a strong motivation for abortion is not to help someone in need or in a particular situation, but maybe it's to harvest. Maybe there's been a huge conflict of interest and the nation is waking up to it. Maybe it's really exploitation. And so now we're asking clinics to start referring or notifying what's an obvious already choice. It's almost redundant that it has to be done. But we're talking now that maybe we ought to include that they might be organ donors as well. So I'm sort of amazed at the timing of this bill, the boldness of the bill, And I strongly urge a no vote. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Morlock. Senator Anderson?
Senators, I can't have a hand in the war on women. This bill promotes the advertising of those who would profit from this illegal sale of babies' hearts, lungs, and livers. I can't support this bill because it does nothing to protect women. However, it puts them at the very hands of profiteers. No woman should be profited on by the loss of her baby. I urge a no vote.
Thank you, Senator Anderson. Senator Pan?
Thank you, Mr. President, members. I stand in strong support of AB 775, a bill that basically ensures that women who are seeking reproductive care, including abortion, actually know what's available to them, because unfortunately we have unlicensed clinics which are not sharing with them the full range of options, or even indicating that perhaps a service they desired is actually available. And I think that that's something that is inappropriate, and it's because, after all, there's been a lot of talk about empowering women, so isn't it important that people actually have their options in front of them and actually have the information they need to make an informed choice? I am a bit concerned about this talk about the sale of hearts, if that's clearly illegal, and if someone was actually doing that, they should be prosecuted. So I'm not sure how this comes into the discussion. However, I would point out that, unfortunately, what does happen is that we do know there are clinics that have advertised themselves as clinics providing reproductive health care, that have advertised such. And yet, when women come in and say that they want to consider having the full range of reproductive services, including considering whether they want to have an abortion or not, they are either provided misinformation or not provided information that there are actually options available to them, but perhaps not at that clinic. So all this bill does is actually just requires that there's a sign so that women know that if they walk in and they're not hearing it from they're not hearing from the people at the clinic, that there are actually other places that those services actually are available in their community and in our state. And that's really what empowerment's about, is being sure people actually have accurate information about what's available. And when there are people who deceive or do not share that information, that actually disempowers women. That disempowers the person coming in. And that should be illegal. And that's why this bill is so important, because we need to be sure people have accurate information to make the choices that they've decided to make, the personal choice that they're making with their healthcare provider, who has a responsibility to ensure that they hear about all the options that are available to them. I respectfully ask for an aye vote on this very important bill, AB 775. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Pan. Senator Stone?
Thank you, Mr. President. Since 1973, there have been 58,226,000 abortions, 6.8 million of which have been performed by Planned Parenthood. And how many women artists have we lost? How many women physicians have we lost? How many women leaders have we lost? How many women educators have we lost? It's unfortunate that most of these abortion clinics are targeted towards low-income women. And I know that we're not here today to discuss the merits of Roe versus Wade. We understand what the law is. And frankly, I would be supportive of this bill that allows a clinic that leans towards preserving the baby's life, maybe towards adoption, to letting them know that abortion services are available to them. Those are accurate statements that my colleague from Sacramento was just talking about. But what we're talking about is complete information, a well-rounded decision. What would be wrong in an abortion clinic by at least alerting potential women that are going to have abortion that there may be alternatives out there in a country that is always seeking to adopt outside our borders in the United States, why not allow a woman to have a well-educated decision? Because we know that there are many women that are in crisis that will go get an abortion that have tremendous regrets afterwards, that have tremendous mental health issues, depression, and in some cases, suicide. Why would we want to target low-income women with biased information, not giving them all of their options? If we included language, as I tried to do in an amendment, that would allow for us to provide all the options available to a pregnant woman, I would be supportive of this bill today. So we give a complete picture to somebody that's in crisis, that doesn't feel they have the time to investigate. First time they've been pregnant, they may be 15 years old, they may be 16 years old, to give them the full gamut of the impacts of the mental anguish that they could possibly have, the ramifications of not having an abortion. These are discussions that should be had. And that's all we're asking for today, is just level the playing field so we can educate women to make an educated choice on their health, not only for the moment, but for their health for the future. For those reasons, unless we have amendments, I have to oppose the bill.
Thank you, Senator Stone. Senator Leyva?
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand in strong support of this bill, and I feel equally strongly that I am not going to dignify some of the remarks made on this floor today with a response. But what I am going to say is to the gentlemen who appear to be so concerned, when you have a uterus, come talk to me. Before then, leave it up to the women. I strongly urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Leyva. Senator Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to stand and thank all of my colleagues who have expressed their deep concern about the decision-making capacity of the 15 or 16 million women and girls of the great state of California. And I hope they can extend that concern about their capacity to earn a living and care for their families when we consider all pro-family legislation on this floor. Perfect example, maximum family grant for women on CalWORKs. We don't want to provide an entitlement program, additional support if an additional baby is born while you're on the program. When we engage in conversation about CalFresh, about early care and education slots, about pay equity, about minimum wage, all of those, in my humble opinion, are pro-family, pro-women policies. And so I want to encourage my colleagues to expand their thinking beyond their clear, committed concern about a woman's reproductive choice, to support her and her children on a more comprehensive basis. You are correct, my colleague. We are not debating Roe v. Wade. I'm not sure how we could arrive at such statistics in terms of the number of abortions performed in the country, because in California, we don't keep such statistics. So I'm not sure how that number was actually developed. So as we talk about this bill, let's just stay focused on the specific content of the bill, not YouTube videos, not far-reaching conjecture about a woman's capacity to make a decision about her own body and her own life. That's not the kind of help I need from anyone in this chamber. And I would argue that's not the kind of help any woman or girl needs from anyone in this chamber. If we want to talk about state public policies to support working women and their children, I'm more than happy to show up to have that meaningful, relevant public policy decision. Needless to say, I stand in support of AB 775.
Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Senator Nielsen?
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is a very serious subject, and I believe that all of us do take the issue very seriously. To me, a fundamental point here is it is an equitable situation. We're taking some clinics that provide counseling services, some that provide abortion, and requiring a different standard within them, a different standard of information, of being informed for the women, not just the young women, but women of other ages that come in. For example, in committee, I asked a question. This requires these precautions to people that come into these more private clinics to have postings in 22-point type. What are the requirements in Planned Parenthood clinics? Are they required to be in 22-point type? I got blank stares back and no answer. If we're going to require what I believe this bill is attempting to require, then the other clinics should also have to post the consequences of an abortion. And there are many, and that should be part of the information. It used to be called, when we were battling about informed consent years ago. What we're talking about now is simply being informed. And each woman should be equally informed, no matter wherever they go, as far as the consequences of this very challenging, very serious medical procedure. It concerns me sometimes how lightly people take the abortion procedure. We've had legislation that exempts such clinics from the same standards that we apply to all other health care. I don't know why anybody would want to put a woman at risk. We have had prohibition of, that they don't have to have a contractual relationship with an adjacent hospital or a nearby one if something happens. I don't understand how anybody could support that. And if you want to be fair and equitable, then let's give everybody the same amount and the same kind of information, no matter what the clinic is. And I think this bill discriminates. And it does discriminate in a religious way, because some people do have, and it should be recognized as having deeply held religious convictions about abortion. And it seems that those who have such convictions are disdained. That ought not be so. I urge a no vote.
Thank you, Senator Nielsen. Senator Jackson, you may close.
Thank you. An interesting debate, the real and the fantasy, some graphic hysteria. So let me just bring us back to what this bill does and doesn't do. First of all, abortion is not the issue here. It is a matter of a woman's fundamental right. The question is when women are provided with accurate information about their choices, so that those who profess to love women will also respect that they should have the right to make this choice for themselves. This bill looks at the existence of these unlicensed clinics. Now, licensed clinics have to go through a variety of requirements, strict requirements, that unlicensed clinics do not. So if we talk about what's good for the goose and good for the gander, licensed clinics are under a much higher standard, and thus it is the unlicensed clinics that present a problem. Nonetheless, this measure, AB 775, requires licensed clinics to provide a simple notice that free or low-cost public programs are available for comprehensive family planning services, prenatal care, and abortion services. It requires the very same thing from unlicensed facilities, but it also requires an unlicensed facility to notify these individuals that there are no licensed medical providers on staff, which is a fact. This bill is to protect women's health so that women know what their choices are and are able to exercise their choices at the earliest possible moments so that they can protect their health and make a decision that is right for them. If you love women, then this is exactly the kind of thing we should be doing. Let's stop the rhetoric. Let's stop the fantasies. Let's stop the allegations and accusations. If we really care about women, we will pass this measure. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen? Aye. Anderson? No. Bates? No. Bell? Berryhill? No. Block? Aye. Cannella? De Leon? Fuller? No. Gaines?
No.
No. Galgiani? Aye. Glazer? Aye. Hall? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Hernandez? Aye. Hertzberg? Aye. Hill? Aye. Wesso? Huff? No. Jackson? Aye. Lada? Aye. Leno? Aye. Leva? Aye. Liu? Aye. McGuire? Aye. Mendoza? Aye. Mitchell? Aye. Monning? Aye. Morlock? No. Morrell? No. Wynn? No. Nilsson? No. Pan? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Roth? Aye. Runner? No. Stone? No. Vidak? No. Wykowski? Aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye.
Secretary, call the absent members.
Bell? Cannella? No. De Leon? Wesso?